Welcome again to JJT. This is our Biz Growth Challenge series, and today again I am joined by Chanel Retief, the owner of NutriFundi, which is going to be the subject of our discussion today. Not the general concepts of dietetics, nutrition as the previous video we did, but your business. Right. So, firstly, tell us a bit about your business, Chanel. What do you do and who do you serve?
Okay. Thank you, Jorg. So, as you said, I'm a registered dietitian. I'm the owner and founder of the NutriFundi practice. It's mainly in the East Rand, but we also have exciting things coming. We're not only on the East Rand anymore, and then we have different pillars in the business. So, two main ones is the inpatients and the outpatients. So, in hospital and out of hospital. So we work in the Glenwood Specialized ICU with the intensivist team there. So we see all the critically ill patients and basically feed those that can't feed themselves. So we have different ways of doing that. If a patient is maybe just not eating enough, maybe it's an old lady that's in the hospital, she's missing a family, she doesn't like the hospital food, but she'll take an extra yogurt. We can get like a protein yogurt for instance. Then it can get a bit worse. Maybe you were in a car accident and you are intubated, so you can't breathe by yourself. Then obviously you can't eat either. So we put a tube through your nose to your stomach and we work out what feed to give that patient. And then the next one that's a little bit worse is maybe you were in a hijacking and you got shot in your stomach. We can't feed into your stomach because where's the feed going to go? So then we do something that's called parenteral nutrition. So we feed straight into your veins, and that's also my job to calculate those requirements, the energy, the protein, the carbs, all of that. So that's the inpatients. Then also we sometimes in the ICU get someone that maybe had a heart attack, they didn't know they have high cholesterol. We can also give them guidance on that. But we mainly do that as outpatients. So as outpatients, we see a wide variety of patients. So it's mainly weight loss, but not only. Myself being an athlete, I see lots of sport nutrition patients. So someone that maybe wants to do their first comrades, they don't know how to feel for a marathon or for an ultra, or maybe they're doing their first high rocks and they don't know how to feel for this. So we help with that. It's a very difficult thing if you want to do sport and lose weight. Because you want to do well, you want to perform, but you also can't overconsume on the calories because you're not going to lose weight. So we do that. We can help someone with allergies, we can help someone with diabetes, IBS, all of that. So that's the two main things. Other things that we do, corporate wellness. So a company with like 10, 15 employees is a lekker referral for us. We can go in, just do like an hour talk, or we can maybe, what we sometimes do, which works quite well, is we have an in-body scale that measures your composition, your body composition. We take that scale there, we quickly measure all of them on the in-body, we print their results, and then we teach them on how to interpret their own results. So we really make them accountable for their own health, and then we do a talk on that. And then we have a few other small things that we offer like as add-ons in the practice, but I would say those are the three main ones.
So, what inspired you to start NutriFundi?
Okay. So I used to work in a government setting, and I really enjoyed my job. I really enjoyed the people working there, but I felt that I could do more with my degree. And I think it's a general problem in South Africa, maybe limited resources, limited availability. And being Chanel, I like doing things my way. And you can't do that in a government position. So if I want to change the font on my papers, I want to do it today. I don't want to wait for approval and a budget meeting and whatever. So I think it was the constraints about resources. And then also I felt that I could do more for patients that can, to be honest, afford a bit more. It's nice to tell a patient, I want you to try this and this and this on your next marathon, and they actually have the resources available to buy that and come give me feedback. That's something that I missed. So that was the one thing. And then I also can't sit still. So I worked in government for a while, then I did get a bit bored. So it was nice doing my own thing and learning, and still learning every day.
Well, yes, I know you're studying.
Yes.
So what makes your business unique compared to other dietitians out there?
So we can't be super unique because we are governed,
Governed, yeah.
does I, by the HPCSA. So I can't go haywire and just do whatever I want. We have to still follow strict rules from the medical board and stuff like that. But I think what I've seen with practices in my area that we do different, and I actually don't know how it's not like that, but other practices have like set meal plans for each and every patient, and as they walk in they have like option 1, 2, 3, they get it and they give it to the patient, whereas I do not have one meal plan like that in my office. I've never had a meal plan like that in my office. We do everything from scratch. We take everything into consideration. We do your first consult is a long hour-long consult where we really get to know you. What job do you do? There's a big difference between being an accountant and being an electrician. Up and down the ladder all the day, or sitting by your table the whole day. So all of that plays a role. What food are you going to pack in? How am I going to calculate your calories? All of that plays a role. And I don't know how it's a one size fits all, because that's not what I've been taught when I was studying. That's the one thing. And then the other thing is I really like gadgets and I really like technology. So we try to get with the times. We are completely paperless. So there's no forms in my office. There's no that I fill in. There's nothing. Everything is paperless. From making your appointment all the way through to getting your meal plan, everything's paperless. I also just launched an app for the practice. So you get your in-body results, you get your meal plan, you get your exchange list, everything on your app, loaded on your phone, in your pocket. So it makes it so convenient. If you're at a braai or at a shop and you don't know what to buy, you have everything that I've calculated for you on your phone.
That is useful. That will, I'm pretty sure that your patients are happy about that.
Very.
So, what core values drive the way you operate and serve your clients?
So I think to value each and every client for who and what they are. Nee? Even if you don't agree with what they're telling you, to still help them, obviously in a scientific way. Nee? So I spoke to someone else this morning and I said, I'm a runner and my husband is a CrossFit coach. So our friends and people that we surround ourselves with are active people. So I tend to think that's how everyone is. Okay. But if you get someone walking into your office and say, I want this healthy eating plan because I do not want to exercise, I think it is important to tell them the benefits of exercising is this and this and this and this, and this is what the WHO recommends. But I hear you, I see you, I know you had a knee op, you can't exercise, so let me help you. So I think it's like really listening to what the individual needs.
So we can help you, but you need to know, you educate them,
Yes.
they need to know about
Yeah.
the benefits that they're giving up. And
Yeah, but also in a nice way and not
Yeah.
in a judgy way, because I
Yeah.
think dietitians in general, people are scared to come to us. They think we are very, like a white coat and judgy and very corporate. And I really try at my office not to do that. We are not like that. None of my dietitians are. Also in the hospital, we tend to, like people would say in Afrikaans, people think the dietitians are the poppies. Nee? Okay. And I really try not to be like that. Our dietitians work in scrubs and we wear Crocs, okay? Because we are part of the team, we are part of the multidisciplinary team. We are not there to look pretty.
All right. So, what are you currently focusing on in NutriFoodie?
So at the moment, I'm really driving the app because it's still relatively new. I have like 250 downloads at the moment. It's very new. I launched like a month ago. So we're really driving that. It is free for all my patients. It's free for general public. There's free stuff on there, lots of free downloads. Obviously, if you're a patient of ours, we put your meal plan and everything on there. If you're not a patient, you still have access to the free resources. You just, where it says my meal plan, there's just no meal plan. But we also have a second part to it that I haven't really advertised yet because there's 1 or 2 glitches we are still sorting out. But I'm also launching subscriptions with the app. So if you subscribe, I'm going to have 2 different ones to start off with. The one is going to be like theme based. So we have some content for December. We launched content for Jan, Jan as well as Feb. So December, for instance, the whole theme was alcohol. So we had interview with the director from Elim. We had an interview with another dietitian about alcohol. When is it becoming a problem? What is better options that you can rather consume? Maybe recipes for some mocktails. So that was the whole theme of December. And then Jan, the whole theme is like goal setting because it's a new year and we all have new goals and stuff. Feb is going to be all about heart health because it's Valentine's. So we have different themes, different recipes for each month. So you subscribe and then we switch that content on for you on your app. So you have access to that. The person that's not subscribed, they don't have access to that. That will be the one part. The other subscription we have is going to be a bit cheaper. It will only have recipes. Okay, so our meal plan work with you can have one carb exchange, 4 protein exchanges, and 1 fat exchange, for instance, for a meal. But then we give you options, okay? But some people don't do so well with building their own meal plan, meals. They want a recipe, okay? So we are uploading recipes, but we're going one step further and working it back into exchanges so that it works with your meal plan. So it's like an add-on for someone that's already on our meal plan, and as soon as you subscribe, we switch it on for you. You get access to all the previous recipes, and then we will continue to load 2 or 3 recipes every week. So you'll continue to get new recipes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's an interesting concept, and I think it could be quite helpful because
Yeah.
as someone that has seen a meal plan, the exchanges, how much is 2 exchanges? Right?
Exactly.
So a recipe, knowing this is my requirements for this meal, here's a recipe that I could do, and then tomorrow is going to be this thing, and so I could.
Yep.
In the other video, you spoke about planning.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
this will really help with that.
Exactly.
Right. So, what trends or changes in your industry are you paying close attention to?
AI, it's a thing. It's taking over everywhere. And it's sometimes it's shockingly accurate. I'm not gonna lie. But I think it and I'm not talking AI that's making our lives easier with note keeping or maybe like writing an email. I'm talking about someone talking to ChatGPT, asking him or her, depends on how you look at it, for a meal plan. And it's not bad. The meal plans are not bad, but I obviously don't want the patient to go to ChatGPT because there's no human interaction and there's no accountability.
So it recommends you something that's completely dangerous for that individual.
Who is going to be accountable and also who's going to check you? So my patients I see every 6 weeks and we put you back on the scale if that is your goal, or we chat about your previous marathon time if that was your goal, or whatever the case is, and you say to me, Chanel, this snack doesn't work, I'm still hungry, or I'm too full, or whatever the case is, and we work together. But that is not there when you just get it off of the internet or off of an AI platform or something. So I think that's a trend. And then in the US, they just recently now launched the new dietary guidelines. It was quite interesting, I'm not gonna lie. So you know the food pyramid? They now swapped it around. Okay. And there's lots of opinions on this. There's lots of political opinions and lots of political agendas with all of this. So luckily we stay in South Africa. And some of the things that they do mention in the actual supporting document, I agree with. Okay. But the actual pyramid that they used in conjunction with the guidelines, it's not really what they were saying. So it's a bit of a misrepresentation. And also we haven't been using the food pyramid for years. There was a My Plates, there was another guideline. So it was a bit of a play on the pyramid. Some of it I agree, they put a lot of emphasis on whole foods, which I totally agree with. They put a lot of emphasis on protein, which I obviously agree with. But they put a lot of emphasis on red meat protein, which I don't really agree with. Like I mentioned in the other video, there's other forms of protein as well. So it's not our guidelines, it's overseas, but it's going to come here. And it's already on some of the South African dietetic groups on Facebook and stuff. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on. I did read the actual supporting documents, and that is not too bad. I just really feel that the visual representation is not what has been said in the guidelines.
So good idea, well supported, could have been implemented better.
Not executed that greatly.
Yeah. All right. It happens so often. So what's the biggest opportunity you see in your business?
Yeah, so I think that's also something that we do. That's why I said earlier, we don't only see East Rand patients, because we have seen that people do well with actual referral. So like, I have seen this dietitian, I want you to see this dietitian because we know each other or whatever. So we do tend to see that people will see, okay, but my friends and family stays in Cape Town, they are here for this weekend, please can they come see you? Like, I get that so often. And yeah, it's fine, I'll see them, but what about the follow-up? Nee?
Yeah.
So what we're now trying to do is I have online options as well available. So, and also I might not be available that weekend that they are here from Cape Town. Yeah, so, and also maybe they don't have enough money on their medical aid, it might be a bit expensive or whatever. So we also have a second option now. It's not an online like a Zoom consult, it's like a link that they fill in. It's on my website. They ask exactly the questions that I would have asked in the consultation. Patient fills it in the comfort of their own home, and I calculate the meal plan for them. Okay. Only downfall on that is that there's not usually an in-body or a body composition, but most of the Planet Fitness gyms actually have in-bodies. Most of the bios have in-bodies. So yeah, usually what we do, we just try and see if we can find a place for them to go for their follow-ups. They send me the feedback and we help them like via email. So that's something we're really trying to tap in. Also, I think it's a good way of strengthening relationships between dietitians. I have patients in Cape Town or Natal or whatever, where they are just going for an in-body at that at the dietitian. Dietitian charge them 100 Rand, and they send me the results, and I continue with the consultation. So not everyone is happy to do that. I know that, but I do have a few in different areas that we do that with, and then we just do vice versa for them as well.
If necessary, yeah.
So the dietitian's very isolated. We don't like working together because we're scared people are going to steal our patients. But I don't think it should be like that. I think we should work together, and I think that's a great way of doing it.
Looking ahead for the next year, what would you say is your top goals for the next 12 months?
So I really need to get the PhD proposal in because they're capping me on September this year. So I'm aiming for March. That's the new date that they gave me. So yeah, I'm gonna today, tomorrow, Friday really work hard on it, submit the final draft. If they are happy, we're gonna then do the defense for the ethical committee. So it sounds like a small thing saying it's a proposal, but it's really a lot of work. You are already developing the questionnaires, already developing the data collection tool. You are showing the ethics committee of why you need to do this. So it's really a lot of work. Yeah, so that's a big thing. Then something not that big but important to me. As I said, I've got my son is now 10 months old. So I am doing the baby-led weaning with him. So he is not eating puree foods, he's eating family foods. And there's something called 101 before 1. So he needs to taste 101 foods before he turns 1. So I have 18 foods left. So I want to finish that before he's a year old. So yeah, I think that's 2 goals. And then obviously being postpartum, being a runner, I struggled to get back into it, even though I was running right until the end. The day my son was born, I still did 5 kilometers. But being then off and breastfeeding, all of that, I think my running did take a bit of a knock. And then my son went to school, he was constantly sick, I was constantly sick. So for now, for the first time, I feel like I am getting back into the fitness. And yeah, so it's important for me. I would love to do a marathon before the end of the year. So that's a bit of a more personal goal.
Good, excellent. So I can fully empathize with that situation. So my daughter was born just before lockdown in 2020. My wife and I in 2019 we participated in CrossFit competitions, and then and my wife did CrossFit up until 2 weeks before her my eldest was born. And then she only stopped because the coach said, I'm not comfortable with you being here.
I'm not delivering this baby.
Exactly. Don't blame him. But so then it was lockdown and it was difficult to get to a gym and to get those exercises. And then that year, December, we got COVID, and we had long COVID in the sense that we were both booked off work for about 2 months. Consistently, the 10-day isolation period, and then we had pneumonia for 2 weeks, and then back for a few days, developed pneumonia again. It turned out into about 3 months. And it's taken about 2 years for us to get back into it. and then we got a mongrel that doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
So my youngest doesn't sleep at all. So we're right back in. I mean, I slept 2.5 hours last
Yeah.
night.
And sleeping is so important. You can't
Yeah.
exercise without sleeping, and you can't focus at work without sleeping, and your immune function takes a knock. And yeah, sleeping is very important.
Yes. You can't exercise with
No.
that. So I can fully
Yeah.
empathize with that. So
Thank you.
good luck. Good luck with that. So what growth do you want to see for NutriFundi? Financially, operationally, or even personally? You mentioned your goal of marathon.
Yeah. So personally, I want to run a marathon. So I'm doing a 10K race with my son in a pram next weekend. And then the weekend after, I'm doing another 10 without him. So I want to see the time difference between the two. And then I'm gonna do a 21. I'm gonna focus on the half marathon for a few times until I can get closer to 2 hours. And then I'll progress to a marathon. So I want to do a marathon before the end of the year. I want to qualify for Comrades so that I can do Comrades next year. Seeing as it's the 100th one, so it's a special one, special medal. I have done 7, so I need 3 more to get a green number. So I'm really chasing that. From a business point of view, I think I'm really happy with how everything is going, but I would like to get my current dietitians busy so that I need to start thinking of employing someone new. I'm not saying I'm gonna employ someone new in the next year, but I want it to become a problem, because being too busy is a good problem to have. Yeah.
Always. All right. So are there any new product, services, or expansions that you are planning?
I haven't launched the recipe subscription. I've launched the just general subscription, but as I said, I'm just sorting out 1 or 2 small glitches. I think it should go live within the next 72 hours. So I'm going to really focus a lot on the recipe part of the subscriptions. Yeah.
Okay. So what skills or resources do you want to develop to support your growth?
Okay, so obviously, as I said, the PhD is a big part, because it is the topic of my PhD is an ICU topic. So it's you don't get a lot of dietitians that's doing ICU and like sport, for instance. You don't get that often. So I think that's a big part of it. ICU is my first love, so I really enjoy it there, and I want to know as much as I possibly can about that. But then also, you asked me earlier about trends and stuff that we see, and I mentioned AI, and I don't want my patients to go use AI for meal plans, but there is ways that we can use AI in the business to make our lives and the patients' lives easier. So thinking of maybe having that's actually with your previous question, launching like a chatbot on WhatsApp for the business, so that the easy questions can be dealt with, automatically. I haven't looked into quotes or anything, but I'm thinking of that. But also I think for like record keeping, for instance, I'm trialing an AI scribe at the moment. So it's totally legit with the POPI law and all of that. It's encrypted, it's not saved to a specific patient's name, so it's specifically made for healthcare. But I really enjoy it because I'm a people's person, and having to sit on the laptop or the tablet, patient sitting in front of you, and you just type while they're talking to you, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
So as with this thing, you get consent from the patient, and you switch it on the laptop or the tablet, and it takes notes for you. But for that to work optimally, I still need to teach it our different templates
And the jargon.
Yes. And what does BMI stand for? What is the InBody? And so I have to find the time to just do that, because I'm using it, but I'm not using it optimally. So I think I want to not ignore AI, but rather see how we can use it and incorporate it in a legit, safe manner.
Yeah, it's a tool that should make your life easier. It shouldn't replace it.
Yes.
We'll never be able to replace it. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
What partnerships or collaborations would you love to create?
So I'm so glad you asked this question. With the online plan I mentioned earlier, that people in Cape Town can fill in the questionnaire, we have been launching or using that. We launched it, I think, in 3 CrossFit boxes so far, and 1 running coach. So people know their coaches and they trust their coaches. They don't know me. No? So if you are a CrossFit coach and your athlete comes to you and say, yes, you know what, I just want to lose 2 more kilograms of fat and I'll be happy. What can I do? that CrossFit coach is not equipped to help that patient unless he or she is a dietitian. No, they are not. A weekend nutrition course is not enough. So, but they trust that coach, and they open up to them instead of me. So what we've done is I have this link for the questions, and we can personalize it for the specific coach or the specific CrossFit box. So I have my logo, I have their logo, all of that. I send them the link, the coach, not the patient, the coach. And then they can charge whatever they want for that plan. Tell them what I want. So I want this amount. If they want to charge double, they charge double. I just charge what I said I want to charge. If they can do an in-body, even better, then I charge slightly more because it makes my math a bit more complicated. So lots of the CrossFit boxes have in-bodies. So we do that. They send me the in-body. I get the the questionnaire back on email, and we do a meal plan for them. So we have piloted that at 3 CrossFit boxes. It's going really well. Also with the running coach. Running coach is a bit more quiet than the CrossFit boxes because running is a bit of a different ball game than the CrossFit. So I mean, there's no limit. We can do that for all the CrossFit in South Africa. So we want to fine tune the process and then roll it out to other boxes as well.
Okay. And what do you think will be the biggest driver of your success in the coming year?
I think, like you said, with the AI, it's a tool. So I think getting with the times and not fear it, but rather use it. For instance, my practice manager is also my mom. She is freaking out when I'm changing a system, or if I launch an app or something. She's like, why are you constantly changing everything? But I feel that the only constant is change. And you have to get with the time. So, and I get excited. So I'm like, okay, now I'm on this system. No, this one is much better. I'm going to change. I'm going to do it like this. And I get excited. Not everyone always shares my excitement. But I think really using the tools that's available. For instance, this AI, it will take me like an hour at the end of my day to write my notes of my patients. And it's not nearly as comprehensive as what the AI can do for me, because I want to look my patient in the eye and I want to talk to them. So now
pay attention to what they're saying.
Yes, that's more important to me, but I have to make the notes. That's also important from like a legal point of view.
Which helps if you record it.
Exactly. And also the developers on the app is busy developing, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, but whoopsie. So they are developing a part. So if you're a patient, you have a part where it says my stuff, and it will have your meal plan, your in-body results, and then any other information I upload for you. But I want another tab that says my consultations, and I want the AI to write like a just quick summary for me. This is the 3 goals that we're going to focus on the next 6 weeks until I see you again. And I want to copy it, paste it into that text box, and I want it to be available on your phone immediately, because you are overwhelmed and you may be so happy you lost 2 kgs of fat that you forget I tell you have to drink water for the next 6 weeks. So yeah, it's just like a bit of a reminder, and people need that. So I'm now sending that out on an email. I used to not do that. I send it out in an email directly after the consult, and then as soon as the developers have got the app ready, we're going to upload it on there for them as well.
Okay. So what impact do you want your business to have in your community or in the bigger dietitians industry?
Yeah, so I always say I don't want to just have an impact on my patients, but also on other dietitians. And that's a big driving force for me to do this specific PhD topic, because it's something that we really struggle with in the ICU. We don't know what to do. There's no guideline at the moment. We all sort of do what we think is best. We do what the doctors tell us to do. It's the truth. And then you'll have the same patient, the same comorbidities, the same everything. The doctor today will tell you, yes, you can feed my patient. Patient looks exactly the same tomorrow. Another doctor will say, no, you can't feed this patient because there's no guideline. It's so irritating. And if it's irritating me, it's irritating my dietitian friends. So that's a big drive for the PhD. And then I think more like a community thing. Like I said, I like to support my church. I like to support the schools. I do lots of free talks. The youth is very important for me and to me, because I think that's where it starts. And I have so many patients in their 20s, 30s, 40s that tell me, yes, I wish they told me this in school. I wish they told me how important it is to eat healthy. Why do they teach us math? They always say, and you're going to like this, they always say, they must teach us how to do our taxes and they must teach us how to eat healthy. That's what the patients always say, but they teach us sin, kos and tan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I haven't used in
No.
almost 30 years. What advice would you give another entrepreneur who's looking to grow right now?
So I would say go for it. Yeah, go for it, but it's not always easy working for yourself. Motivation, you have to be motivated, but you will not be motivated every day. So that's where the determination comes in. Motivation, yeah, it comes and it goes, but you have to know why you are doing it. So I think that. And then something that I really had to learn in the hard way, is when you start a business, you are everything from the CEO right through to the social media agency. And that's normal. You don't, most of us actually, when you start a business, you don't have the money to just pay everyone to do everything. But when you get to a point where you do have a bit more cash in the business, try and see what you can outsource. And I'm a firm believer that you have to know how to do it, but you don't have to do it yourself. For instance, my social media, I used to always do it myself, and I loved doing it. But it takes me longer because it's not my profession. So I'm still involved, I still write the content, I just don't do the actual posting, I don't do the actual making of the pictures, stuff like that. And if I'm at a cool CPD event and I'm taking photos, I post it. But the in-between posts, I have an agency doing that for me. Because same with my accounting, I used to do all the data capturing and stuff myself. I used to book out a whole day in a month just to do that. Okay.
To catch up all that.
Yes, and then I had to register for VAT, and then you can't be behind anymore. Because I used to be behind like 4 months, and then I'm like, no, I can't because I have to pay VAT. So now I have a company doing it. They specifically just do healthcare, so they know how the medical aids work. They know how to follow up with the medical aids, and they do my accounting, capturing, accounting, everything for me. But you have to have the cash to pay them. But you have to somewhere decide to make, okay, a whole day out of the office is costing me this amount of money because I'm taking it out of the office because I'm doing my accounting. But I can pay a company for a whole month for half this price because I'm not their only client. I have 10 others.
Yeah.
So sort of see where you can outsource to someone that really know what they are doing, but it needs to make financial sense for you as well.
Okay. So what's one thing you wish more people understood about your business?
That we are not only for weight loss. We don't only see weight loss patients, but I don't think that will ever change. And that there's no bad and good food. Even though like we talk like that, we would say, that's a bad food, or I had a chocolate, I was so bad today, or whatever. But there's just foods that you should have less of and foods that you should have more of.